So this is chapter 17. We're going to talk a little bit about action research, which is what most of you will be doing as part of your internship experience, as part of our MAE process. So some objectives in terms of what we're going to talk about: the purpose of action research, and then the components of an action research project. And this gives you a little bit of some foreshadowing of those different parts. So just as a definition, action research is systematic research that is conducted, usually it's in educational settings, or in this case, in terms of our purposes, it will be in an educational setting. In most cases, the researcher is a stakeholder, so that could be a teacher or administrator. Sometimes I guess it could also be students if they're trying to make their school a better place. Topics usually have to do with operations, so it could be like the difference between having block classes and traditional classes, the value of having maybe year-round school instead of traditional 2 semesters, 4 quarters. Teaching approaches could be examined, the difference between like giving direct instruction to students or using a model like divergent inquiry, which is a lot more student-centered. Could look at different student learning styles, like being a kinesthetic learner, being visual, like those kinds of things. But a lot of times those are sort of where the topics are focused. And the purpose is to, number one, help the teacher or the stakeholder develop a reflective practice. So what do we know to be true? What are we going to take based on that, reflect on it, and then make something better? It's to create an effective, positive change, improve student outcomes or learning, improve educational environments, solve everyday problems in schools, and then encourage and empower teachers to be agents of change, which is something that, I feel really strongly about. So the characteristics: it's persuasive and authoritative, meaning that it makes you want to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak. It's relevant, it's accessible to all. It provides an impetus for reform, and it's timeless. It's not just something that's going to be different tomorrow. Now, here are the points that make it a little bit harder sometimes. Number one, it's hard to generalize because we're looking at something very specific that's happening in your classroom or in your school or with your students. And number two, what you find might not lead to any change in practice. A lot of times teachers feel sort of like, well, I know this to be true, but I don't have the resources really to make a difference, to make a change, even though I know that it needs to happen. So some different types of action research. Number one, there's critical action research, which is emancipatory action research. There are 4 different parts to that. It has to be democratic, meaning that everybody can participate. It has to be equitable, meaning that everyone or every facet has inherent worth. It's liberating, so it provides a freedom from whatever oppressive means in terms of oppressive conditions. And it's enhancing. It enables expression of potential. What you're going to be doing in your MAE action research projects probably falls into category 2, which is practical action research. And it emphasizes a how-to approach. So it's an opportunity for professional development. You're learning a little something more about something. And the focus is on school improvement. The teachers control the research decisions. It's the who, the how, the why, the so what that comes after that. We're going to research this because we want to find a solution for that, and it's going to make our classroom a better place. Now, this type of action research can be conducted at one school. It can be conducted at all of the high schools in a district. It could be conducted in one department within one school. It could be conducted in one class within one department within one school. So there are lots of different levels in terms of where action research can be applied. So this is an example of the spiral, and you can see here at the very top, we identify an area of focus. From that area of focus, we collected data. As we're collecting the data, it might also create a need to work through another area of focus. Something comes to our attention because we're collecting data that we also need to focus on. So then we might spiral back to identifying an area of focus and collecting more data. As we're collecting data, we analyze and interpret that data. And then from analyzing and interpreting the data, we develop an action plan. Once we have our action plan in place, we're going to collect data to see if our action plan is actually working. From there, we're going to analyze and interpret the data. From there, we're going to then create a new action plan based on the revision or what we found to be true. And this might also lead to another area of focus that we need to identify and collect some more data. So you can see all of these parts are interconnected, and this is sort of a cycle that just keeps on going and perpetuating itself. So how the process works, you identify an area within your locus of control. You don't probably have the power to determine what time the school day will start. So that would be an example of an area outside your locus of control. But you do have the capacity to maybe suggest a different sort of teaching model or another part of content that should be incorporated into what students are learning. Or let's say that, you feel strongly that students need physical activity breaks. Could you put those into the normal classroom day? You probably have the power to be able to do that. So thinking about what's under your control, identify an area of passion. Like I said before in one of my previous videos, this is something that you're going to spend a lot of time working on. You might as well pick something that's meaningful to you and something that will hold your focus. The methods determined by the nature of the problem. So how you are doing the research in terms of quantitative, qualitative, or mixed methods will be determined by what the problem actually is. You make sure that you share your findings with the stakeholders. So it's not just kept for you, but you're actually identifying who the stakeholders are and then help allowing them to see what results you're collecting. And a lot of times keep in mind that action research often leads to new questions. So just in summary, this is a short one. Action research helps solve a problem. It's meaningful to both the researcher and the stakeholders. So it's something that's going to make a difference. And usually it's conducted in organically occurring environments. So just in the normal course of somebody teaching in a classroom, or the normal course of somebody teaching within a school district, or the kinds of things that a teacher's already involved in. This isn't something new or novel, but we're solving problems that pop up along the way and using data that would already be existing.